Yeah, for sure. Not a whole lot.
Just on me.
Not a whole lot different. You know what I'm saying? All right. So I appreciate you doing this podcast with me.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, really. When I asked you to talk about relationships, how'd you feel?
I thought I was not
Those are tricky.
I thought I was not like what do you say when you're like not good for the job?
Not qualified.
I thought I wasn't qualified.
Your guru today is gonna be Miss Ikhlas. Unqualified.
But I feel like I have a good like experience.
Yeah.
So I get where you like enlightened me. I just feel like there's other people that are more qualified, I guess.
Well, there's always people that are like masters of a subject, and Esther Perel would be a fantastic guest to have on the show.
Yeah.
But I think something also is to be said for the honesty and the vulnerability of experiencing recently a learning point that other people could benefit from a lot, right? So the thing that we were talking about the other day that was really meaningful to me and I thought would be helpful for the viewers and listeners to hear you talk about firsthand is the dynamic in relationships that is, on one hand, I'm naive, and on the other hand, I'm way too guarded to ever feel close, right? That was the dichotomy that you and I were talking about the other day, and it seemed like you had some really cool personal growth experiences about that. So just right off the rip, how you feeling about it?
I'm always battling between those two. I'm like, because obviously when you're getting to know someone, you don't want to look at those like red flags. You just want to like be in the honeymoon stage,
Be in
completely bliss. like you just want to enjoy the moment, and as you should.
Yeah.
But also, am I being naive by just enjoying the moment? And this is just what runs through my head all the time.
Am I choosing ignorance?
Am I choosing ignorance and like ignoring these red flags because I want to live in the moment?
Yeah.
Or should I protect myself and actually guard myself so this person doesn't hurt me?
Yeah. Do you think so? I wouldn't even say it's being naive, ignoring red flags. Not being able to see red flags is naive, right?
Yeah.
You're like, la da 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 da. I'm so happy, and he's so perfect, and
my favorite color is red.
Yeah. Full force ahead. I think that is naive. I think the other one is what would you say, like intentionally being ignorant? Like let's choose like intentional blindness. I'm choosing not to see these things. That's different. Do you feel like when you get into a relationship, do you feel like you used to not see things, and then after the fact, like I know that in a past relationship, one thing you talked about was like, one of the difficulties in trusting is because he said all these things, and then they turned out not to be true. So maybe a little bit of naivete in that, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like when someone's talking, you can pick up when maybe what they're saying is not necessarily true?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really good at, like, calling bullshit on most things that, like, people say. And sometimes I don't even have to, like, call bullshit and, like, tell you that you're talking bullshit. I just pick it up and I'm like, okay, cool.
So you're...
Like, I just saw that.
So you're more attentive or competent, really, in a relationship, which is fantastic.
Yeah. But I don't think it's because of my past relationship. I think my past relationship made me realize how naive I used to be. But having that break of like, I'm not going to be more naive. I'm going to listen to myself more, listen to my gut. And like being more trusting of myself than like the other person and relying on their words for trust kind of thing.
That's a really cool topic. I'm really glad you brought it up because trusting yourself, I think, is the foundation of trust in a relationship. Because it's you have to rely on your own feelings first. How do you feel like you've developed that or started to touch into that?
I think I'm very trusting of myself, and I feel like I hold like a lot of moral and like good values for myself.
Yeah.
And when it comes to other people in relationships or in friendships or whatever, I don't give my trust like easily.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like, and even if I do, I'm not fully giving you all of my trust. Like
you feel like you used to give it too easily? You'd give people trust. Okay, great. That's cool.
Absolutely.
That's a really cool progress
I
point.
used to just like be like, oh my gosh, you're my friend.
You're cool. You like me.
I know that you won't do anything to hurt me because you're so close to me. Like, here, walk all over me, kind of thing. And they did.
And then it's like whatever. I like you. I think you're great. You seem to like me too, and things going good. So kind of whatever you say goes.
Yeah.
And then like I find myself not having inserted my opinion or wishes for this relationship at any point.
Mm-hmm.
And then where am I? You know.
And to a certain extent, they will also realize that you've given them the full trust, and they'll like keep tugging to the point.
It's too much power, man. You can't give someone. You can't give someone the. You can't give someone the power to decide the reality, the shared reality in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do that because then it's like power corrupts, right? That's a very common theme in stories and in the world. And you also take some sense of responsibility for your partner's corruption in that regard, because if you're giving them the power to create your reality, why wouldn't you use it to your advantage and create a reality that you would be benefited a lot more than is fair?
Oh, yeah. And I feel like once people realize that you've given them this much power, they're like, oh, what else can I take? Like,
it's over.
Oh, it's the trust. Maybe I can control her in a sense. And like people always want more than what they have. And I feel like even with people, like in relationships, that's where like they start tugging on that power. Once you give them the full trust, they want control. And after control, they just want to have you as a property.
Your soul.
No, seriously.
So I think one of the most beneficial things that anyone listening to this podcast could hear is an honest discussion about how you begin to navigate the new waters, right? Of I'm listening to myself, I'm trusting myself, and I also am opening to your love. So that I'm not either or. What does that look like? How has that been? And maybe not even how are you doing it, because I might be like, I'm trying.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, I appreciate the vulnerability, because that's really helpful for anybody listening. A lot of people get on podcasts and they assume the role of the pro, right?
Oh yeah.
So what has that been like for you, just trying to navigate that?
I think I learned what you need to learn if you're trying to like go to a relationship. I feel like you need to learn a lot of emotional security with yourself and then apply that in the relationship. Like, for example, if my partner wants to go out and have a fun night, like, they can have a life outside of me, and I can have a life outside of them.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
how do you justify knowing that when they go out, they could cheat on you, or they could be unfaithful in some way? How do you? Because that would be like, fuck you. You're not going out. You're not going out. What, you want to go meet somebody else? You know, that would be like, okay, this is a little prickly. You're a little guarded, man. Yeah. You're a little too tight. You know, how do you not do that? How do you not choose that route? What's the logic in your head that goes, okay, you know what? Yeah, maybe he does, but I'm going to trust in some way, or I'm okay with that, or what?
I think also creating them, like, the boundaries, like you said in the beginning of the relationship. Like, if you choose to go out and be not faithful to me and we're in a monogamous relationship,
I'm out.
Then I'm out. Like, you won't have me anymore. I'm not even going to fight about you about it. Go cheat. I just won't be there anymore. You just have that person.
I feel like the people that are the most stressed in relationships
are the ones that you get cheated on.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know that I would just off the rip agree to that, but I would say that I think the people who are the most stressed in relationship are those who are not very aware, like not very tuned into the ability to feel for truth and to talk with someone. Like, if you don't fulfill your end of this agreement, because yes, we're feeling a lot of love and a lot of emotions, and that's really cool, and we love it. But there also are some boundaries here, and that is, you know, in a monogamous relationship, for instance, you're not being intimate with other people, right? I also don't want to be talked to like X, Y, and Z, and I also want to make sure that, you know, whatever other areas you might need to lay boundaries down. And then outside of that, I trust you. Go for it. Have fun, you know? And if anything, like, I think one of the skills is like not overreacting to things, you know, like maybe a girl's name pops up on their phone, you know, that's really loaded, because some people are like, oh, you texting your girlfriend or whatever. But like, maybe that's an opportunity to be like, That's not a boundary
Mm-hmm.
for us.
Yeah.
Could it become one? Yeah, but the overthinking of that can make every interaction for them with the other person that could potentially be a love interest or a lust interest threatening to you, and then you're hyper vigilant all the time and you become controlling, you know.
Yeah. But
That's
you
tough.
gotta realize, you gotta like look back at like the bigger picture. They're a person, you're a person. They have their own lives. They have their own friends. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna have girls pop up in their phone.
Yeah.
But if they're like going around like hiding their phone or like just like doing little weird red flags, that's just like that's weird. Like trust
Yeah.
your gut. Like say something about it. If not, and like you see names pop up and you address it, and they're like, "Oh, she's just a friend I knew," then that's fine. Like,
Yeah, and then you're like, like even if you're like, oh hey, who's Olivia? You know?
oh yeah,
And they're like, oh, it's just a friend of mine from school or whatever. Like that's cool, you know, like sounds awesome, you know. But if they were like, you know, if a name popped up on their phone and they like put their phone in their pocket real quick,
yeah,
that's where I'm like, okay. As you grow up, you learn to trust yourself, right? That's what we're talking about. You learn to trust yourself. You know,
yeah.
at that point, you know something's a little off about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need your participation in creating that reality for me. I get it. Something's a little off.
Yeah.
Someone's name popped up on your phone and you hit it real quick, and that was weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, I don't really know if I trust this person that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be a little bit more attentive to the things they do. If there's something else like that, I'll probably excuse myself out of the relationship, or I might give them one opportunity to say, hey, I'd like to ask you about this person, Olivia. You know, I'd like to, what is it about the reason that you jumped or something? And then when people tell you, like, I think the biggest mistake people make is they allow themselves to be convinced by other people what it is. You know, it's like, oh, no, she's just a whatever. And it's like, I totally hear that. And I'll totally respect your ability to have friends, and it's your life, like you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to let you know, right? Like in a negotiation selling a house, like I totally see your price. I want to buy it for that. I just want you to know that the buyers aren't really a big fan of the, you know, the roof being a little leaky. Just putting that there. I'm just not a big fan of the whole jumpy when someone texts you thing. It's a little odd to me. And then just leave it there.
Yeah. And if you sometimes that name pops up again, or like you've already addressed it and it's still stewing in your head, then address it again. Because one thing about us as people, we change our stories up. And if they change their story and they're like, oh, she's a high school friend, to like, oh, she's a friend that I met at Starbucks. That's like, okay, cool. Like, have kind of a like not an interrogation, but like come back to the subject. Like have a little buffer time. Think about it. Make it stew in your head a little bit.
I think that one of the most important things is that sense of trusting yourself that you talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate that you mentioned that, because there's so many techniques of like keep tabs on what they said about someone, and then you have like this detective board.
Yeah.
Live your life, honey. Don't have a detective board. Like learn to know. And for me, it's learning to know what I am willing to feel comfortable with or willing to lose. You know, it's like, okay, so you have this, like there's a difference between like an intrusive thought about like maybe somebody, oh, I bet he's hooking up with her. I bet that's someone that they were intimate with, or I bet he is someone that she has interest in, or that's that guy from the gym. Why are they texting? That's different. You know, it is what it is. You should probably like relax, let that shit go, enjoy your day, and not get hung up on that. You're important, you're valuable, and they love you and they chose you, right? That's the foundation of your relationship. But if they're putting their phone away or doing things that make you feel like there's not a lot of trust in a relationship, I think that's a decision you make on your own, not together. You're like, you know, I just want to quietly note to myself, if there's one or two more things that happen that are like that, I'm going to give myself the permission to leave the relationship, and the input from them is not important, you know?
You have to like value your own needs ahead of that. If that person continues to do things that you don't like, but you're just so blinded by love, you need to like come back to yourself and be like, am I willing to let this go on and hurt me? Or should I just like shut it down right now and not hurt myself, kind of thing?
How do you feel like when you're in love? Is it intoxicating? is it like overwhelming? Is it beautiful? Is it like, like I want to know what love is? Is it this amazing, just heart-opening, orgasmic wave surfing experience?
I feel like, you know, when you like imagine jumping off a building and like a bed catching you. And then after the bed has a hole, and then you drop to, and then there's another bed under it. Mm-hmm. Like every time you're just like going from cloud to cloud.
In love.
Yes, but the feeling of falling is like what brings you this like anxiety and fear.
Is it the falling, like truly falling into someone and the hopeful promise that they will catch you and there's a beautiful future, and they also entertainment of the excitement that it could all be bad. You know, like we don't know, it's a mystery. How's it going to play out?
Yeah, there might be no bed anymore, and you're just going to hit a hard surface and you're gone. Yeah. You know?
Is there like...
But that's okay. You get hurt and you move on.
But I guess what I'm asking is like, what is it? What's the feeling that at times encourages us to persist? For me, it's a little bit different because sometimes I feel a little bit cold and calculated, and I'm trying to work on being more emotional and in tune with, you know, like falling in love and like feeling all those emotions. Sometimes it's more like, well, this works or this doesn't work. Yeah. But for some people, like from what you're talking about, it sounds like you're in love and you're feeling good, so you kind of throw these red flags out. Yeah. Right? What is that feeling that makes you go like, yeah, they're being kind of sus, but to hell with it. Like I love them so much already.
I feel like it's like the comfort that person like gives you. It's like here, like this is just a place in the gym in the back, but you put up these curtains, you put up this furniture, you know, you put up this refrigerator that has drinks that not only the I will like, but more guests will like. You know, they're accommodating to your needs and like
make you feel seen, make you feel heard.
Yes. But
and it feels good.
I don't think there's also one emotion that you can coincide with love. There's just like the nervousness, the scariness, like, oh my gosh, oh shit, this isn't really happening. Like, am I gonna let myself go to this person? Yeah.
Then you have the other thoughts of like, you know, like if like I think about an Airbnb, like if I go to book an Airbnb and it's like not up to par, you know, like it depends on how many Airbnbs are available. You know what I'm saying? My standards are greatly impacted by, you know, what's available to me. Yeah. What type of association or like commitment I've already displayed towards this to my friends and family. Like, you know, it's a tiny house, for instance.
Does it have Wi-Fi?
Yeah. Well, like not so much the amenities, but like oh, it's gonna be so cool, and it's this awesome cabin in the woods. Like, you know, the person who books the place is always so much more a fan of the place than you are. Yeah. You're like, oh, it's a tiny house. You're like, this is a shed. You know, like this is not a tiny house. It's not cute. It's not cool. It's like it's just like a dog house, you know? And you get there and it's like genuinely way too small, and you're like, oh, it's good. Like that kind of thing. That kind of reminds me of what you're saying when you talk about being in love. Like, I already said I already like it. I already made the commitment. Yeah. So the hell with it.
So you're saying that you just like, if you book this beautiful big Airbnb and it becomes like not what you're looking at, you just adjust to what you have.
I think a lot of people do. I don't think I do. I think I'm like, oof,
I'm out of here.
Yeah, this is not what it said it was gonna be.
Yeah, I don't adjust either.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm like, I know, and we're talking about relationships here, but I know like what I want, what I need, not need, but want from that person, and if they don't offer or if they don't like what I want and what I need, then that's not something I want to adjust to.
And I think one of the most empowering things you can ever do is be willing to be by yourself. Mm-hmm. Be okay with that. And if you can get to the place where most people never get to do this, but if you can get to a place where you truly find this beautiful bliss and stability and strength as an individual, then someone else coming into that space, they need to add to it. They need to add beauty, add flow, add good energy. It needs to be fun. It needs to be intellectually stimulating. It needs to make sense, or it starts to mess with the mojo, man. Like you're feeling good, and most people don't feel good when there's not someone loving them. You know, like what's that song by Lana Del Rey? And it says like, what's that song by Lana Del Rey? It says like, you're only life is only living if you're being loved or something like that.
I think I know what it is, but I don't.
Well, don't worry. But, that's the kind of way most people feel. So once they get someone, they're like, I'll take the abuse. I'll take the mistreatment. I'll even if it's not abuse, and for a lot of people it is, but I'll take I'm not happy about those things. And then you begin to resent the person, which is horrible. You don't even give them the chance to fail out. You keep the bad student and you allow them to flunk, and then you hate your students.
Yeah. How do you feel about if that person is making you feel good, like adjusting, bringing new furniture, whatever, and the other, like, it's just like a one-way kind of thing?
Like if they're bringing a lot to me,
Yeah, and you're just like there.
then I'll respect their decision to leave after they get tired of it. If they're like, hey, I'm kind of like doing a lot of effort, I generally feel like I'm making your life better, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really feel like it's being reciprocated back.
Mm-hmm.
I would respect that a lot for them bringing it up and being like, hey, it doesn't, like, that's something that for me I have been not as good at in the past, and I think I'm getting better at, is valuing relationships better, and seeing as an asset, seeing as something that's beautiful to my life instead of this crushing, stressful decision of picking the right person to spend my life with. And because of that, I'm doing more things for my partner. But in the past, I've definitely felt as if my relationship has been one-sided. Like I've felt that my partners have been a little bit more, not my current relationship, not my last relationship, but prior to that, my partners have been a little bit more like happy about what we're doing. They want to be in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of testing it.
Yeah.
So if Lauren came to me and said that, hey, I feel like I'm doing a lot for you, and I don't really feel like it's being reciprocated,
Mm-hmm.
I would not try to defend that. I wouldn't be like, what do you mean? I would feel like I trust you. Like I trust that that's the way you feel. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need some time to really dissect what that means. And maybe you have picked up on something that maybe I don't value this relationship as much as I say that I do. Or maybe I'm distracted, but I really appreciate you sharing with me how you feel. And let me take a couple days before I get back to you. And I'd love to hear anything else you have to say about it.
Do you think if they change the way that they are, do you think that's genuine, or do you think that person's actually trying to be with you and like do you think it's genuine that person's avidly trying to stay in this relationship, or do you think they're just doing what I want and now I don't even think that I'm in it?
That's such a nuanced question. It's a great question. If you ask someone, hey, like I would like you to be more attentive to the things that mean something to me. Like we don't get to spend a lot of time together watching Netflix shows that I like to do. And then that person is spending more time watching Netflix with you. Is it I would genuinely say it's if that person is a high quality partner, if they're really making your life, if they have I wouldn't say a lot of potential because that's where people get in trouble too, but if they are solid, trustworthy, kind, strong, independent, and benefiting you, but there's a couple areas where dropping the ball, hey, sex isn't really that invigorating for me. I feel like you don't initiate it very often, Like in that case, if that person started to initiate sex more often, I might be like, appreciate the effort, I don't think I would begin to be like, oh, you're just trying to be what I want you to be.
But would it bother you that the only reason that they changed their efforts or like took the initiative is because you said something?
100%. You're like, okay, I get it. You don't really want this. You don't really want to spend time. I want you to want doing this, like that kind of thing.
Not even want, like I want you to do it because you enjoy doing it.
But I think that's where a little bit of I honestly think that has some space for some maturity in that feeling, because it's like I want some, like, for a lot of people, intimacy is the place where there's an imbalance. One person wants intimacy more often than the other person does, and it's like my needs aren't being met. I want to spend more time being intimate with you. I want that to be something we share more often. That's important to me. And then the partner says, either no, okay, or they go, yeah, okay, definitely, we could totally do that, and I appreciate you expressing that. And then they do it more often. And then a common feeling is like, I just feel like you're doing it because I said to do it, right? I just feel like you're doing it because I want you to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there is, I think that's a very real feeling, and it is true. You want to feel like there's so much chemistry. And it's just, we love the same things, and we love the same hobbies, and we love the same frequencies of participating in intimacy or Netflix watching or playing Monopoly or whatever. And that's cool. But I also see that if that there is a lot of effort and consideration being displayed by that person who's adjusting their actions to be grateful for, because when you requested that they paid more attention to it, you did it because you noticed that they don't pay a lot of attention to it. It's not something that's a top priority for them, and it could be a priority. It could be something they want, but they don't feel comfortable doing. That might be another thing. They might be like, oh, I just feel insecure, and that's something that it's really still not a big factor. Like, okay, I still want to do this more often with you, and so I totally respect your own journey and things, but I would still like to do this more. Mm-hmm. But I think the effort towards it should be applauded, and I think that's a huge indication of someone that you could spend a lot of time with and have a beautiful relationship with, is the willingness to adjust to support each other. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
What if you don't? Okay, I'm going to give you another question.
Yeah, sure.
So what if that person, say you're okay with letting that person go do whatever they want?
Yeah.
And you have that trust and that emotional stability to be like, you have your own life, go do whatever you want, and I'll have mine. Yeah. But we'll come together and be in this relationship kind of beautifully. But say this person wants to go enjoy a concert, and they want to go out on their own, but you also like that band, and you also want to go.
Yeah. What do you do then?
And what if you going alone hurts them?
So from your perspective, that person's wanting to go by themselves. Yes. I think you've asked me a similar question before about, like, what if I wanted to go to a concert to go see, like, Sudden Death or something, and then Lauren was like, oh, I want to go there too, or a festival. And I was like, I really want to go solo, man. Yeah. She was like, well, I want to go too. Why don't you want to go with me?
Yeah.
What do I honestly think about that situation?
Yes.
I think, does this person enjoy me? Does this person like me? Do they like me? Do they like time with me? Do they enjoy our time? Do they love me? Do they respect me? Yeah. We spend time together. We watch Netflix together. We're intimate together. We share responsibilities. We've created a beautiful life together, Okay, so yeah, I would bet that they really like me and they enjoy time with me.
Yeah.
I wonder why they want to go solo, Because I could respect that. I could see that there's some space for me to respect their just interesting wants, Mm-hmm. Maybe for me, and maybe for you, rather in this case, you're like, why would anyone want to go solo when you have a person you can enjoy it with?
Yeah.
And maybe they are either able to beautifully articulate the reasons they would prefer to go solo, and that would be an opportunity for you to say, okay, that's a little different, but I respect it. And then I would say, let it go and let them person enjoy their time. But the other option would be the other situation would be they can't articulate it, and they're like, I just kind of want to go by myself.
Yeah.
And I think that deserves equal amount of respect. I don't think that, and this is a direct statement to you, so I just, with all love and respect, I don't think it's in your right to be like, well, like, you're hurting me if you don't go with me. It's like, hey, we're individual people. I'm going to go to this by myself, and I want to, and I can't wait to see you when I get back.
Yeah. I think sometimes you need to enjoy some things for yourself. You can't be attached to that person. Not even in like I enjoy this and I enjoy time with you, but I want to do this alone kind of thing. But also like in the sense that, yes, I want to go do this alone. I want to have this experience be just catered to me.
Yeah, and then too, it's like, oh, maybe it hits for some people. Maybe the fact that your partner maybe when your partner wants to go do something alone or something out of pocket, the way you feel, it hits a deeper fear for you, where you're like, do you even like me? Do you even want to spend time with me? Like, why would? Because that's the thing that rings in my head when you say that example, is like someone thinking, why would you not want to go with me?
Yeah.
And it's like, I totally see the hurt that comes from. Why would you not want to go with me? I do want to go with you. I love spending time with you. I love spending most of my time with you. But I really have been wanting to go to a festival and just rock out by myself. And that's something that's really exciting to me. And I would love it if you would support me in that decision. Because to be honest with you, I'm going to do it anyways.
I think it's that stems, like the people that get hurt by their partner doing things alone. I think that stems from like them as a child. Like
100%.
you as a child.
Yeah, past relationships, past friendships, past
yeah.
parent relationships, being abandoned.
Being abandoned or having that codependency on your parents
Yeah.
or on your sisters or friends or whatever.
Dude, that's such a big thing. Like, if you have, when you feel like someone not wanting you involved, like, this is where you have to grow up. Like, you have to develop some maturity and say, okay, if you don't ever want me involved in your life, you probably don't like me. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want me involved most of the time, you probably like me. And the reverse of that is, if you don't want me involved in your life too, that doesn't, like, that just means you don't want me involved in your life. And it's like, it also doesn't mean like a lot of people get in trouble because that inner fear starts to express itself in control in the way they interact with their partner. It's like, well, you know, I don't want to go with you to this festival, right? It's probably not something you'd say directly, but you'd say, like, I really want to go with my friend, Christian, you know, and I want to go hang out with him, right? Well, you know, oh, so you want to spend time with Christian more than me? And those are, like, anytime that kind of response comes out, it's really nice to be able to sit back and say, like, hey, I love you socks off. I love you. I think you're fantastic, you know, and I really want you to know, as hope you see by the time we spend together and the things I do to make sure you feel seen and heard and loved, right, that I care about you tremendously. And me wanting to go with my friend to this concert is not because I don't love you. It's just because I want to go with my friend.
I think that person also doesn't have emotional security if they feel like that person not going with them or not letting them, like, go on their own. They themselves don't have emotional security and letting their partner have their own life.
Yeah.
Like, you have my own life. You have your own life. I have my own. Like,
yeah. It's what it means to you. When you have to evaluate what things mean to you. When someone goes by themselves to do something, does it mean that they value their time individually? Because that's beautiful. Like, applaud that. You're dating someone. It's someone else, not yourself. You're dating another person. That's what creates the desire and the chemistry. So it doesn't mean that they value their, like, I think a beautiful place of maturity is when you want people to get away from you.
Yes.
You know, when you're like, hey, Ikhlas, I love you, but babe, I wish you'd go spend some time by yourself with your friends, because I feel like we're both getting way too close, and it's killing all of our polarization, all this desire, this chemistry we have. I feel like we're just becoming merged in the same person. There's actually a really good book by Esther Perel called Mating in Captivity. I don't know if we've talked about that before.
Yeah,
but
I've heard of it.
You would love that book because it's all about this. It's all this topic. It's like, maintain individuality in a relationship, mating in captivity. How do you maintain desire in long-term monogamous relationships? Well, a huge part of it is live your lives separate. Some people, I've even heard some people living in separate places. Like, I live in my house, you live in yours, and even when they're, like, in a serious relationship, they continue that to maintain this love relationship.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know if it worked for me, but that's a cool thought.
I think it works for me because
Get out.
No, but seriously, in my past relationship, we lived so close together.
It kills
like,
it, man.
We lived like 10 minutes away from each other. So at any time I had any free time, he wanted me to be there and, like, hanging out with him. I felt like a little side character to his story. Yeah. You know?
And that's where you lose it.
That's what, not even lose it, you lose yourself. Like, it's like, what the hell? I'm just a side character. I'm in the background. I'm not going to say shit or do anything.
Yeah.
But I've, like, in this relationship, and I learned, like, being single in those years, like, I'm okay with being alone. I like being alone. I want my own story. I want to have my own book or movie. It's my movie, you know?
I got my own projects, the thing I'm working on, hobbies and passions.
And my relationship now, we live like 45 to an hour away, and we, like, have designated times or, like, days that we hang out and see each other. And that distance kind of brings, like, individuality in a way. Like, I'm alone. I have an hour free between classes or work. Oh, what can I do by myself? You know, what can I do for myself? Go on a little walk, you know, read a book.
Then you you come back. So, like, then you come back and you meet with your partner, right? You meet with Drake and you say, like, what'd you do yesterday? And you go, oh my God, let me tell you.
Yes.
Right? I did this and this was really cool and I had this cool experience. And then last night I went here. That's why I'm not a big fan of texting all day. Like, I really have not texted partners very often in years because I don't want to know what you're doing while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, like, tonight when we get together and eat dinner, or tomorrow when we have lunch together, or we get together to go for a workout. I'd love to, after we're working out, sitting down saying, like, so, hey, yesterday I set up this new podcast studio and I'm doing this, and you can share it instead of just like you bleed out, like you rush to the thing you want, the communication, the connection, and you extinguish the desire to learn about each other, desire to know about each other. And sometimes setting those boundaries of, like, a simple one is like, don't spend the night every night with your partner. If you guys are married and you have kids and share responsibilities, sure, but like cultivating that individuality and like separating from each other makes you, you're so much happier to see the person. When you see them, you're like, hey, you, instead of that person that wouldn't move out of your way last night and always hogs the TV and like leaves their mess in the house and that kind of stuff. You have so much more excitement to see them, and it's such a healthier environment off the bat. Beautiful for dating relationships.
Oh yeah, and like, for example, if you're living with that person and you're always reading books, I feel like that person's like, oh, she's reading another one of her books if we're living together. But say, like, I only hang out with you 2 to 3 times a week. I come back with a book. You like wanting to know, like, oh, what are you reading? Like, what's the story about? Like, this happened like a few times during this relationship. Yeah. But in the past one, I'd be reading a book or like doing homework, and it's like, oh, she's just reading another book.
And you chunk it. You're like, okay, I know you now.
Yes.
Because that's one of the biggest. It's nice because your brain really couldn't handle falling in love for the rest of your life with someone. Mm-hmm. You want to get familiar and learn what they do and learn their habits, and that way you can start to help co-create a life together. But you do familiarize yourself with someone. Like, one of my main problems with getting close to you, Ikhlas, is my thinking I know you. Mm-hmm. I just see Ikhlas. I go, oh, there's Ikhlas. And I know Ikhlas. I could cast her in a movie. Here's her qualities. Here's what she does, right? It also doesn't give credence to the idea that you have changed. Mm-hmm. So there's some updating qualities you need to do. And that's where I need to stay open when we talk, to listen to who you are now, not who you were 6 months ago, because I'm sure, like anyone else, you're changing. And I can respect that. And if I allow myself to stay open and listen and be attentive to you as you develop, then I'm dating someone, or I'm not dating Ikhlas, but me and Ikhlas dating. I'm having a friendship with someone, right? Or I'm dating somebody, and I'm not just dating the person I met 2 years ago, because that gets right. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons people are sometimes in relationships, is because that person's the same person you met 2 years ago. Literally. But you're developing, and you're also really intrigued. That's like with my current relationship with Lauren. I'm really working a lot on being attentive and being open to her developing traits, and it's made me a lot more. It's made her much more intriguing to me and desirable, because I see a girl who's different than she was a couple months ago, and if I continue to pay attention to that, then I will do my part in sustaining the desire in a relationship.
Oh, of course. Like, if we had this conversation 2 years ago, this would be a whole different conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be bawling my eyes out right now. I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I don't know what to do. Why are you asking me? Yeah.
That was my favorite answers. I don't know.
Yeah. We talked about that in the last episode. I don't know. That's people's favorite answer to emotional questions.
Literally. Yeah. I was like, and you were completely different. Yeah. Like,
giving the people the opportunity to change and to watch them.
Constantly change. If you're thinking of me as when we first started dating, that's a whole other person. Throw that out the window.
Yeah.
You're talking to me today. Yeah. Like, I've already learned 10,000 things. I probably almost died last night. Like, you never know.
Yeah. That's one of the that's why altering your consciousness with somebody, right? There are ways you can do that immediately, and because this is on YouTube, I'm not going to talk about that specifically, but there are other ways you can alter your consciousness with people, where you're participating in things that bring out different personality traits. That's why doing a puzzle together can be fun, or like going and working out together, or like going and riding jet skis. Me and Lauren rode jet skis the other day, and it was like, I got to see this kind of fun, competitive chase pull edge from her, and it was really attractive, and why don't you cook together? Maybe the person can really dice an onion, and it's attractive. You're like, that's pretty cool. You're skilled in that, Break out of the normal routine. Give people the opportunities to show you that give people, your personality expresses itself based on the environment it's in. And so go with people into different environments to see them really fully blossom who they are, and give that person the respect that they deserve.
Also, putting in effort on working on yourself. Like, for example, you said you were working on yourself to be more, like, intriguing, or she was more intriguing to you because you were working on yourself. I feel like people just, like, oh, that person loved me for who I am. I'm just like,
I'm good just the way I am.
I'm
man.
just gonna sit and chill, you know?
No, they met you and you were a growing person.
Yeah, you have to constantly work on yourself. Like, know what your attachment style is. That person points out as something to you, and you're like, oh, maybe I am a little bit dependent on this person. Or, oh, maybe I should have some alone time and, like, discover new hobbies. Like it's not always like a battle between you and them. It's like you and that problem that you're having, you and them, and then the problem you're having.
The problem, the thing is the issue, not you and them.
Yeah.
It's not you versus them, it's you versus the issue. And that's one thing when you don't feel powerless in a relationship, and when you have grown and you've matured and you feel confident in who you are as a growing person, like doing this podcast. At the beginning of it, I was not very open to criticism because it was difficult for me because this is a new project and I'm not very confident in it, And so I don't want someone saying, hey, I think you're a little bit too vulgar, or I don't want someone, hey, I think you use the F word way too much, because like I'm not confident in what I'm doing. So I don't want your critiques. But as I've done episodes and gotten into a flow and created a studio that I feel safe in and comfortable in, or not safe, but I feel proud of, I begin to invite critiques, because now that I'm committed to this project, I want it to be the best it can. And so a thoughtful critique on what I'm doing is Elon Musk says in one famous interview, is more valuable than gold. So I'm really happy for my mother saying, hey, you kind of drop the F-bomb every other word, and that might make it hard for people to listen to some of the better points you have. And when you're confident in your podcast as a growing project, or you're confident in your person as a growing person that grows through mistakes, and when that person, like when your partner says things to you out of love and out of consideration, like I remember I thought about yesterday, actually, something a partner told me one time. I've noticed you're pretty insecure about X, and it wasn't very nice the way that it was said. It was like this, like, I know you. Like, I keep tabs on you. Like, I know you're insecure about this. And it's like, that was really rude. Like, that's an insecurity. It's something I don't feel good about. And you just like brought it up with no introduction, no warmth, no consideration in a conversation. That's not very nice. And it's not like you're trying to help me with that. Maybe if you want to help me with an insecurity, try like reaffirming things about me you really like, or maybe even that particular thing you could make a comment about it. That is so much different when someone's bringing up something to you and saying, hey, like, I think that when we communicate, sometimes it's hard for you to hear what I'm saying, because maybe you feel like what I'm saying is an attack on you, and I'm really not attacking you, babe. I love you. And when I've tried to communicate to you that I don't like that you leave your things all over the house, it's more to maintain a respect for you, and I want to respect you, and it makes it hard for me to respect you whenever you dirty up my space, and that person's like, I really appreciate that, or they go, well, you X, Y, and Z, and that's where it's like, it's so important to speak up for yourself every time things happen, so you don't build up resentment,
And I think the trust, like, within it comes with, like, I'm confident in this, and I'm not going to get defensive. Like, the defensive side is where that you're like, you're a little insecure about this subject, and you're not confident in the project you're doing. Like your mom saying it's vulgar. Yeah. You're not being hurt, and you're like, okay, maybe I should work on not using as many F-bombs, and like let my story be heard, or let whatever I'm saying be heard. People that are so quick to jump into defense, and I was very defensive, like back then, or still probably is.
Feel like you are weaker? You feel like you're more defensive when you feel weak?
I feel like you're more defensive and to jump into like fighting words when you're either insecure about the subject, or you don't know much and you're just quick to like defend yourself against that thing.
And you don't know much about what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like there's areas in my behavior that I'm kind of in the dark on. I know how I act. And I know it's not even really desirable or good, but I don't know why. And on one regard, it's way too complicated and dark and deep and needing therapy that, like, I just haven't got to it yet, And so when someone points it out, like, it's been a great development for me to be able to say, yeah, like I do notice that I do that, and I understand that probably makes things difficult for you, And that's like, I'll own it, I'm not concreting it. I'm not making it forever. I'm just saying, like, I know that that's something I do, and I can imagine it makes it tough for you, you know, and I do apologize that I've complicated our relationship by that.
And
it's like,
even
well,
them even them bringing it up is like strong for them, or like great for them,
you're talking
because
about it.
the fact that you've brought this up and like I'm willing to ingest this with like a grain of salt kind of thing and work on myself. That's where like the healthy, you think like a healthy, good relationship that we're both working on ourselves while also working on this relationship. And that's where the trust starts to build. I think that's where the trust starts to come in. Like, but also the trust can't fully be there because you have the third party views. Like, you know, like someone say this is a podcast between me and you, and your mom said something about you and me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then it's like, or no, let me give you another analogy.
Sure.
Like, say we're in a relationship and we're both beautiful people. We're going to go out and get hit on all the time, you know, and that's fine. But for me to address the situation, oh, why did you talk to that girl? Oh, she thought I was cute. I knew her. Fine, move on. That's cool. She stays persistent. You can't blame that person for their persistency, you know?
Yeah. Hey, just want to let you know you're really cute again, and if you ever break up with your girlfriend, I'm here. It's like thanks. My partner's desirable.
You can't be mad at that person. Like, if that person's constantly blowing up my phone and you see her name every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't blame you. Yeah. I can blame her, but that's how you know you have a good, healthy relationship, is like you can't blame that person for who they are or how attractive there is. Yeah. My previous partner.
Other people's actions. You don't blame people for that's a very important point. You don't blame people for other people's actions towards them.
Yeah. My previous partner got mad at me. Literally so mad. Like so pissed off to the point where he didn't talk to me for a couple of days. Because he went through my Apple Watch while I was asleep.
City boy.
Sleeping, snoozing, through my Apple Watch and saw the text between me and you. And it was like,
love you.
A tragic something happened. And you said, I love you. And I said it back. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, that love word only is between me and you. Like, no other man should be saying I love you too. And it's like,
yo, hey, look, and then it's where you're like, that's where the underlying respect is so important, because you're telling me about your views right now. You're saying that's how you use the word love, what's important to you. And I'm totally, as a partner in a relationship, I'm totally down to talk about it. I'm totally down to feel it and respect what you feel, if it makes sense to me. But I would, let's talk about it. Don't chastise me about it. Don't come at me and say, you this and F you and how dare you and all that kind of stuff, because you're upset about something.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. And maybe if you genuinely say, hey, I love you so much and I prefer, what do you think about using the love word just between you and I? That is a conversation we can have. I may not agree to it. And then most people will not allow disagreement. Mm-hmm. That's a huge fundamental in relationships, is like, we disagree on how we use the word love. And like, that is being open-minded. I think fundamentally it's being open-minded, seeing that you use the word love to people that you love romantically, and the other person, right, or vice versa, uses it to associate care and well wishes and a deep affection for somebody and their well-being, and you want to use it more often. Okay, can we need to be able to agree to disagree for this relationship to work, because I'm not going to change my opinion on this.
Oh, absolutely. And love to me is not what love to you is. Like, this color blue is not the color blue that you're seeing and the one that I'm seeing. Like, and there's different shades of blue. So like, the love that I have for Braxton is like, he's been in my life. I honestly care for this person, one of my bestest friends. Yeah. And like, the love that I have for my partner, it's like, I love you. I want to build a family, friendship, like life with you. That's different kind of love. That's two different shades of blue. Yeah,
it's like, different from saying, I want to fuck you. Like that, you text your partner that. You text your friends, I love you so much. Yes. And that also, it's one huge reason it's difficult too is that because it like, most people aren't willing to communicate on behalf of their insecurities and talk about them, like pretending you're totally secure is, I think, more weakness than explaining that there are insecurities you have, because who doesn't, right? Everyone has insecurities. So saying, hey, when you told your guy friend you love them, I'm just going to let you know how I feel. It makes you feel a little unsteady, makes you feel threatened. by that relationship. And if the response from you is present, right? It's one of my favorite words genuinely to use in conversations, because presence, when something is responsive or reactive, it's not present. It's from a historical thing. It's from a fear in the future. Like it gets off somewhere else, you know. But when you say, I can totally understand, you know, like, because can you understand that some people get threatened when their partner says, I love you to people? Yeah, I have space for that. I can understand that. So, yeah, I totally understand that can make you feel a little unsettled. And if you need me to, I'd love to remind you that in no way do I love them in the way that I love you, babe. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, thanks, that is helpful. You know, and they're, well, would you mind not telling your friend you love them? And you go, I'm going to tell my friends I love them.
Yeah,
You know?
and the defensiveness is like what
Then I want to talk about their insecurities.
Messes it all up. Like, you woke me up from my slumber because I'm being
my slumber.
I'm being so serious. Like, you woke me up from my good sleep because I said I love you to my friend. Like, you're out of your mind. Get your defensive ass somewhere else, because it's not gonna be in my life anymore. And that's it. No.
Is that where it ended?
No, it's not where it ended, but it ended. It ended a little bit later.
Yeah. Well,
it was just like a red flag.
Yeah, it is a red flag.
Huge one.
I think we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
That's a good conversation we've had. Thoroughly. I wish we had more time to do it.
I think I missed my class.
Yeah, you missed your class. I really appreciate you taking time with me to talk about relationships and to be honest and open and vulnerable. I've really enjoyed truly sharing this space with you.
Thank you. Yeah. I enjoyed this conversation.
Peace. Awesome.
Really good.